Traveled from her home in Southern California to hear President Clinton's 6-hour deposition. It is the first time ever that an American president has had to testify as a defendant in a civil or criminal lawsuit.
Excuse us. You guys need to
Come on. I asked you not to do. Paula Jones' arrival at the office of President Clinton's lawyer was met by a crush of media. Come on, you guys. Come on. Please. Jones looked bewildered at times as the crowd jostled to get her picture and shouted questions in vain.
Paula, is your hairdresser here?
Paula Jones didn't talk to reporters, but her spokeswoman did.
That's the one thing that she said to me, is I feel so proud to be an American, to know that the judicial system works, to know that a little girl from Arkansas is as equal under the law as the President of the United States.
A short time later, President Clinton left the White House to give his videotaped deposition. The president's limousine pulled directly into the parking garage of his lawyer's building. Paula Jones is suing President Clinton because she claims he asked her for oral sex while the two were alone at his Arkansas hotel in May of 1991. At the time, President Clinton was the governor of Arkansas. Paula Jones was a state clerk. She says she suffered a hostile work environment after rejecting Mr. Clinton's advances. The president says he doesn't even remember meeting her.
How did it go?
The president was expected to face a lot of embarrassing questions during the deposition, including details of his sexual history. This case is scheduled to go to trial in Little Rock in May. Reporting live from the White House, I'm Andrea McCarran. Now back to you.
Thanks, Andrea. World News Weekend Report will have more following Action News tonight. Back here at home, a woman shot a child, then herself this afternoon in the Fairmount section of Philadelphia, and police are still trying to sort it all out. Matt O'Donnell is live in the 800 block of North 20th Street with what is known at this point. Matt?
Rob, the police actually have closed their investigation here at the scene and are taking all their information back to headquarters. But at this point, we do know, as you said, a tragic story. A 4-year-old boy shot twice, and the woman, the believed trigger person, commits suicide. Police say at about 2:30 this afternoon, a 27-year-old woman was hanging out this third-story window at 871 North 20th Street, waving a gun. Then, witnesses say, she went back inside and 4 gunshots went off.
Well, the woman in the house has a gunshot wound to her head, and the child has a gunshot wound, I believe, on the left leg and the left side of his face.
Police believe the woman shot the 4-year-old boy twice and then attempted suicide. Both were rushed to Allegheny Hahnemann in Center City. Hours later, a relative arrived at the scene of the shootings, and when he heard what happened, he collapsed. The 4-year-old was transferred to Children's Hospital and is in fair condition. The woman was pronounced dead at Allegheny Hahnemann. This neighbor says she knew that woman.
She's a very nice, caring person, and she would do anything she could for you. She was a sweetheart to me, and she was very respectful to me.
The motive for the shootings at this point is unclear, and police are going to be releasing names probably in about a half an hour or so. Neighbors tell us that the woman, the believed trigger person, lived here with another woman, and that other woman is the mother of the 4-year-old boy. Luckily, the good news, at least in this case, is that the 4-year-old boy is in fair condition at the hospital, recovering from the 2 gunshot wounds. I'm Matt O'Donnell, live in the Action Cam in Fairmount.
Thank you, Matt. He's apparently taking the secret with him to his grave. Where are the children? William Bradfield, convicted of killing Upper Merion teacher Susan Reinert and her 2 children, died last night in Graterford Prison. Michelle McCormick tells us where things stand now.
This picturesque pond in Downingtown holds bittersweet memories for Pat Chenor. It was here many years ago that her best friend and fellow teacher Sue Reinert would come to visit with her children Karen and Michael, before they disappeared in June of 1979, and before another teacher, William Bradfield, was convicted of their murders. Authorities found Reinert's body in the trunk of her car near Harrisburg, but Bradfield died in prison Friday without telling where the kids might be.
I never really thought we'd hear the resolution, and that is difficult, but I guess I'd rather at least have him gone and hope that he wouldn't have gotten out. That worried me some.
When Sue Reinert would visit here in Downingtown, she would often talk about her plans to marry the man who was later convicted of her murder. But she never spoke about being concerned for her safety or that of her children.
She had a lot of romantic dreams, and I think that idea that somebody could take someone's love and just do everything wrong with it is the worst of everything.
The prosecution never thought Bradfield acted alone in collecting Reinert's insurance money. Former Principal Jay Smith was convicted of murder as well, but was released from death row in 1992. The Supreme Court overturned his conviction because evidence was withheld from his defense. Philadelphia attorney George Bocchetto is now representing Smith in a civil suit against author Joseph Wambaugh, who wrote a book on the murders. The suit alleges Wambaugh used his celebrity status and cash to taint the investigation. Bocchetto had plans to question Bradfield.
We were going to compel him to testify.
And say where the kids were?
Well, we were certainly going to ask that question.
Because your client has no information where the kids might be.
None whatsoever.
Bocchetto says Smith is now writing his own book on the case, and Shannour still teaches at Upper Marion High School. Sue Reinert's parents died before she married and had her children. Her in-laws are avoiding the cameras. The gaping hole left by their missing grandchildren is as deep and dark as ever. Michelle McCormack, Channel 6 Action News.
Delaware officials are investigating the mysterious death of a man whose remains were found today. The scene is a wooded area near Routes 9 and 72 in Delaware City. A virtual skeleton, still dressed in clothes, was found sitting in a pickup truck. A shotgun was on his lap. The truck is registered to a man who's been missing for 2 years. This could be a suicide, but the medical examiner has to rule on that and, of course, identify the man. A Kensington man died in his vehicle after this violent crash on Roosevelt Boulevard this morning. Police say 21-year-old Tim Harrell lost control of his BMW and crashed into a utility pole, then through a fence before slamming into that wall there. The impact caused the pole to snap. Wires and a transformer fell to the ground. Harrell was dead at the scene. A passenger in his car is listed in stable condition. Well, police in Gloucester Township would like to know the name of a woman who was killed in this crash on Route 42 last night. Police had chased the suspected shoplifter from a Kmart store on Blackwood Clementon Road. She eluded officers and they broke off the chase. But moments later, officers heard a loud crash on Route 42. Their suspect had gone up the exit ramp of Route 42 and had gone the wrong way on the highway. The head-on crash killed the woman. The car had been stolen. 2 people in the other car are hospitalized. Police say they found heroin and cocaine in the unknown woman's car. Officials of the Claridge Hotel Casino have alerted employees of a possible case of meningitis. 55-year-old Arthur Pasquarello, a slot machine cashier at the casino, died this week. His doctor informed Claridge officials that the death may be the result of meningitis. Employees are being told to see their doctors if they had close personal contact with Pasquarello. Officials say Claridge guests don't have anything to worry about. Meningitis is spread by such things as sharing food or utensils or by kissing. The deal is off to buy the vacant Mount Sinai Hospital building in South Philadelphia. The Dallas healthcare firm that wanted to open a long-term care facility for elderly patients has backed out of the deal. Specialty Hospitals of America says last year's Federal Balanced Budget Act cut Medicare benefits so low that they cannot make a profit, so the plans to buy this place are off. Allegheny Health Foundation closed Mount Sinai last year and sent its 500 employees packing. Center City's Logan Square East Retirement Community has filed for Chapter 13 over Medicare payments. Officials say they've assured their residents there will be no change in services. Logan Square East officials say there's a debt problem now because Medicare payments to the facility have been cut off. Federal officials say the firm has been paid too much. Logan Square East officials say the problem is an auditing error and that they're appealing the dispute. It was back on New Year's Day that dozens of families were burned out of their apartments in the East Mount Airy section. An arson fire reduced the Gorgas Lane complex to rubble. Tonight comes word that residents will be eligible for federal disaster help. The Small Business Administration will make low-interest loans available. Renters are eligible for up to $40,000 to replace personal property lost in the fire, things like furniture and clothing. The SBA will begin taking applications Tuesday at the Mount Airy USA Center, 6641 Germantown Avenue. Community partnership in action this Saturday in Southwest Philadelphia. Volunteers joined forces for a rehabilitation project. They worked on the Myers Rec Center at 58th and King Sessing today. After this project, volunteers will turn their attention on the elderly and others in need to help repair their homes. Local lumber yards, plumbing supplies, and paint stores are contributing materials. The labor is provided by these caring volunteers. And there's more to come on Action News tonight. Dozens of leaders in Philadelphia's black community map strategy for next year's mayoral contest. Later in sports, Temple tangles with LaSalle.
In eastern Canada, 15 people are confirmed dead and 6 others missing in the waters off the coast of Newfoundland. This happened when
more when Action News
sank. Only the bow of the 590-foot ship can be seen protruding from the water. The freighter was en route from Rotterdam to Montreal. No word tonight on what caused it to break apart and then sink. And an unusual standoff in Los Angeles is over tonight after a man wanted for kidnapping ends up all wet. You can see the man in the center of your screen getting doused with water. Police chased him up a pole and then turned fire hoses on him when he refused to come down. After a while, the water worked and the man surrendered. Tonight, he is in jail. Still ahead here on News 10 at 6 tonight, power crews begin to get the upper hand on the storm recovery throughout New England. And a live picture here from the News 10 Skywatch. Some snowflakes could soon be in the picture. Hurricane Schwartz is next with the Earthwatch forecast.
Last year in Italy, a lot of Cubans have received formal training in atheism and are suspect of the pontiff who helped topple communism in his native Poland. The Pope arrives in Cuba Wednesday, and Jim Gardner will report live from Cuba on the historic visit. He spoke on Iraqi TV to commemorate the 7th anniversary of the Gulf War. He vowed to throw all inspectors out by May 20th. Hussein's bravado drew quick response from top U.S. officials who said Iraq is just asking for tougher sanctions or worse. The top UN inspector is going to Baghdad, hoping to resolve the stalemate over the U.S. inspectors. Well, the Postal Service has honored an important childhood memory for millions of Americans, the Crayola crayon. A new Crayola stamp was unveiled today in Easton, Pennsylvania, the home of Benny and Smith, the makers of Crayola crayons. Since being introduced back in 1903, more than 100 billion Crayola crayons have been made. The stamp is part of a new postal series called Celebrate the Century. All 30 stamps, including the Crayola stamp, will be issued on February 3rd in Washington, D.C. 100 billion, and those are just the
change the rain to snow. That could happen just about anywhere in the area, but later on tonight, and the roads have been warm, so it's not likely to cause driving problems, certainly not this evening. Now we go flying down, and you see the snowflakes coming in through western Pennsylvania and into Ohio and Kentucky, but back in Indiana, it's over. This is a tiny little storm. It's moving pretty fast. It has no potential to be a big storm, but at least it's something. Here's the radar over the last 8-10 hours or so. Not all that impressive. And there's an area of snow, though, across much of northern Pennsylvania and New York State. Some rain has moved into the Philadelphia region, and this will gradually be changing. As this little storm system moves to the east, the rain-snow line is going to come down to the south. So the light rain will change over to some snow, but wet snow melting on the roads, maybe starting to accumulate on some grassy surfaces in the middle of the night. Same thing, the snow line comes down. By 6 o'clock in the morning, it may all be over except for some snowflakes in the Poconos. You could get a couple of inches in the Poconos with this storm. Now with the next one, well, this is a nice southern storm, a bigger storm. Remember, John's been talking about this, but a big area of high pressure off the eastern Canada coast is going to help block this storm. Most of the computer models now continuing to suggest that it is going this way and not up the coast because this high blocks it. It also blocks the big storm from hitting the northeast and Canada. By Tuesday, it is moving out to sea, and we just graze the northern edge of this with perhaps a little bit of light snow on Monday and Monday night, more significant snow well south of the city as long as it maintains this track. Here's the forecast then for tonight. We have the rain changing to some wet snow. We could get up to an inch, mainly grassy surfaces and on the cars, north and west. Low temperatures getting just to the freezing mark and below, but that's by daybreak. This evening, we're no problems driving, except perhaps for the visibility and wet roads. Flurries ending in the morning, mostly cloudy tomorrow. High temperature up near 40 degrees. If we get a little sunshine, we can get a little warmer than that. Then on Monday, again, that storm goes to our south, and we could get a little light snow, especially south of the city, 38 degrees, then windy and chilly on Tuesday, but no...
Retire Wilt's number 13 jersey, like 40 years. Today, Wilt returning to Lawrence for the first time since ¡75, only the second time since 1958 when he last played there. A sellout crowd of 17,000 on hand for today's retirement. And at the end of the game,